Okay, let's dive right into this explainer with a massive question. Are you absolutely sure you know which Howard County you're actually looking for? Welcome to our complete guide on accessing court records online completely for free. Now, whether you're researching a local legal dispute, digging into some community history, or tracing your family tree, you might think you know exactly where to start. But as we're about to see, jumping straight into a search engine without a plan, well, that's a guaranteed recipe for frustration.
You see, simply typing Howard County court records into Google is literally walking into a giant geographical trap. For a complete beginner, it totally makes sense that typing those words will just magically bring up the specific records you need, right? But within the United States, Howard County doesn't just refer to one single place. If you don't clearly define your jurisdiction right out of the gate, you could find yourself sifting through court dockets from 1,000 miles away, completely unaware that you're in the wrong database. And this brilliantly illustrates our first major hurdle. There are actually 7 different Howard counties in the U.S. You've got Maryland, Indiana, Missouri, Texas, Iowa, Arkansas, and Nebraska. It's like a giant puzzle because every single one of these geographic regions operates its own unique computerized court case management network. They are all regulated by specific state statutes, local court rules, and totally different electronic access policies. Now, it is entirely possible and perfectly legal to access many of these records online for free, but only if you're using the precise web portal tailored to your specific targeted state.
So, the crucial point here is that you need a map. Today's explainer is your step-by-step guide to successfully navigating this. We're going to cover 1. Understanding records, 2. Legal access and limits, 3. A step-by-step database guide, 4. Troubleshooting, and 5. Resources and real-life uses.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Understanding Records and Legal Limits.
So, what are these records anyway? Generally, court records document the proceedings of civil, criminal, traffic, and probate matters. But transparency definitely has its legal limits. While you can freely search most standard civil lawsuits and traffic dockets, highly sensitive matters are strictly shielded from public online access. We're talking about things like juvenile or adoption cases. Those are restricted across virtually all jurisdictions. Also, any cases that have been legally sealed or expunged, those are intentionally removed from these public databases. Knowing this upfront is absolutely crucial. It saves you from hunting for records you literally cannot access online.
Moving right along to Section 2, our step-by-step database guide. To keep you from getting lost in the weeds, we recommend a foolproof 4-step instructional funnel. First up, identify your jurisdiction. Which of the 7 states are you actually looking at? Second, locate that specific state's official portal. Third, input your query using the specific syntax required by that database. And fourth, analyze your results. You really have to remember that these systems act a lot like a digital library card catalog. They point you to the information, but they might not contain every single underlying document in full. Let's map out the primary free portals for some of the most populated Howard counties out there. If you're searching in Maryland, your destination is the Maryland Judiciary Case Search. Looking in Indiana, you need the My Case platform. And for Missouri, you'll be utilizing case.net. Oh, and a quick side note on Missouri, make sure you use the primary address for case.net because their old www2 legacy subdomain was permanently decommissioned. It's crazy to see how each state has completely branded and isolated its very own system. Let's zoom in on Maryland's system for a second, especially since the Howard County Courthouse, located at 9250 Judicial Way in Ellicott City, is one of the state's oldest public institutions. The Maryland Case Search Portal is great because it provides broad coverage across multiple court levels, tracking civil, traffic, and criminal files. Their electronic history actually goes pretty deep, tracking some district court civil files all the way back to 1989 and criminal cases to 1991. But again, always remember, the information you see on Case Search is just a summary of the official case file, not the complete file itself.
Okay, Section 3, Search Syntax and Hacks. This is where things get really interesting.
So, the Maryland Case Search system recently changed its default to search for exact names only. If you don't know the exact spelling of someone's name, you might hit enter and assume the record just doesn't exist. Well, this is where the percentage wildcard becomes your absolute best friend. If you type in the first few characters of a last name followed by a percentage sign, like SMITH%, the system will pull up all names starting with those letters. You'll get Smith, Smithson, Smithsburg, you name it. It is a vital hack for getting around tricky spelling variations.
Now here is another vital, hyper-specific tip.
In Maryland, probate and estate matters are actually isolated from the main case search. They live on their own Register of Wills estate search portal. And here's the kicker. If you try to search for an estate using a short case number, your query will fail every single time. You absolutely must enter a full 12-character estate number. To pull this off, you just pad your number with leading zeros until it hits exactly 12 characters. Without that little syntax hack, you're just going to hit a dead end.
And this really just highlights how wildly different these state systems can be. Let's shift gears to Howard County, Indiana, for instance. Their MyCase system lets you search public summaries for free, sure, but it heavily restricts downloading the actual documents. For criminal cases there, you can generally only view the sentencing orders online. Meanwhile, down in Howard County, Texas, they use a system powered by Tyler Technologies that operates with incredibly strict exact match indexing. Honestly, if you miss a single hyphen or misspell a name by one letter there, you simply won't find the case.
All right, let's pivot to Section 4, troubleshooting common issues.
Because let's face it, troubleshooting is just an inevitable part of digital research. So let's preemptively solve some of that user frustration right now. The biggest roadblock in Maryland is the dreaded 500 result limit. If your search is way too broad, the system just spits out the first 500 cases and completely stops, which means the specific record you want might be hidden in case number 501. You fix this by narrowing your date range or tossing in a first name. Other common reasons your search might fail: spelling errors, the fact that a case predates the electronic era and only exists on paper in a basement somewhere, or the case was legally expunged and intentionally wiped from public view.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, real-life uses and additional resources.
So why are people actually digging into this data? The practical applications are honestly fascinating. Genealogists use these databases all the time, especially probate and estate records, to trace family lineages and figure out how historical property was transferred. Other folks dive into civil dockets to research the litigation history of a business before they sign a major contract. It's really just a powerful way to identify basic legal histories and understand the civic events that literally shaped a community over time.
But listen, it is absolutely vital to remember that online databases aren't the whole universe. If your search comes up empty, or if you're looking for a case that predates the 1990s, you've got to take things offline. Visiting the physical courthouse, like the clerk's office on Judicial Way in Maryland, or over on North Buckeye Street in Indiana, is often the necessary next step. Plus, places like the Maryland State Law Library or local family court help centers are incredible, completely free resources designed specifically to help the public navigate the judicial system in person. Now, before we wrap up, we have to cover a really strong evergreen disclaimer. As is very clearly stated by the Maryland courts, these summary databases should not be used for the purpose of performing background checks on an individual. This information is provided for educational and informational purposes only. Remember, what you're seeing online is a summary, not a complete official record. You should always consult a qualified legal professional for personalized advice or if you need official background verification. All right, you now have the exact blueprint to navigate these portals effectively and, best of all, for free. If you've got your own search tips or if you run into any wild questions while looking up records, definitely drop them in the comments below so we can all learn together. So as you set out on your own research journey, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. What hidden history will you uncover in the public record today?